Hi, this is Access Chapter 10, Problem Solve 2, Movie number 3, and we're going to start with step number 10 in our instructions. So we left off in the last movie finishing up our form that's going to control the starting and ending date that's used for both our purchase query and our purchase report. So I wanted to make sure everybody had that saved and closed. And now we're going to begin modifying the actual query. So we're going to open up our object pane and find the query purchases and open it up in Design View. So if we look at the criterion for purchase date, we see that we have between start date and end date, and that's why when we run it, it asks us for those two values. Well, what we're doing is we're making that form as a front end to supply these two pieces of information. And so we're going to have to get rid of the current criteria and set up the criteria so that it uses the information coming from that form. So for me, the easiest way to have you do that is with the build. So I'm still in purchase date criteria and I want to do build. So if we read the instructions, it says modify purchases the query so that it looks for the parameters from purchase by date a student, this form we just did. Okay, so here's what we need to investigate. First of all, we know we still need to use the conditional operator of between, right? So we have to type between in, and then we need to find our form that we're using. Where's it at? This form here. So we know it's in our current database, so I open that up. We know it's a form, so I open that up. I want to look at all forms, so I open that up, and there's my list of forms. So I want to find this form that we're using as that front end. I'm going to click on that. This middle changes to all the objects found on this form. So I want to find, so the first thing is between start date. So I'm going to double click on start date. It's going to fill it in. And, right, because between this and the next thing. And then I want to find end date. So using this expression builder is a lot easier than typing in this entire string. So we're going to go ahead and do OK. And we have that done. You guys should be pros at that. So let's going to save this query and close that query out. So now what we want to do is we want to modify this purchase date report so that it indicates what the date range is that was selected. So we need to find this report to modify, right? So we're going to right click and go into Design View. So up here at the top, we want to have on this report, because right, this report could have any number of date ranges, right? And so it's useful to provide that information on the report so you know at a glance when you open that report what the date range is that this report was built on. Whether it's a day, a month, a week, a year, that needs to come on here somewhere. And so now we have that input form that has those two pieces of information. As long as that form remains open, we can use that data. So we're going to add a text box called start date. So remember, design, and we find our controls. Our controls is what we always start with when we're doing these type of actions. So it's a text box. Somewhere around 4.5. We're going to pop that in. Then we need to go to our properties because we the name of this unbound control is going to be starting date. So I did my property sheet, I went into name, and I typed starting date. The label, where right now where it says text 18, I'm going to change that caption to starting date. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to the text box control and do a few things. So first thing we're going to do is format the left edge of it at 4.5. I was pretty close, but I was a little off. We got that part done. Format the text box as short date. Okay, I can do that. Format, short date. Change the control so that it is the start date from form purchase. Okay, so remember that's in data and it's control source, and I want to use the ellipses. It's going to bring our expression builder up, and just like what we just did on our queries, we're going to do the same process. We're going to pick the database, forms, all forms, and find the form we care about, which is this purchase date by student. Purchases by date a student. Start date, right there, double click. So now this is going to pull whatever start date was entered on the form. So the last thing I need to do here is just kind of bring that open, and then I just want to bring that a little tighter. Okay. I actually wanted that to be, I don't want those boxes overlapping. Okay. So we have all of that done. Now what we want to do is add a second box, right? I'm going to close this property sheet for a minute. So we want to put the ending date, right? So we go back up to controls, find our text box, about 7 inches, pop that in there, property sheet, bring that out. So I'm currently on here. I'm going to do all the name of this unbound is going to be ending date. The label caption is going to be ending space date. Then go go back to the text box. The left is at 7 inches. We want to format it as short text, short date, and then change the control source. So that's on data, control source, ellipses, same process. Pick our database, pick forms, pick all forms, find the form that's controlling all this, and then now we're doing end date. Okay. We got all that done. Okay, so now they want us to, I'm going to open this ending date up, and I'm just going to bring it a little tighter. So now what it wants us to do is align all the controls at their bottom edge. So I'm going to select all of this and then arrange, align, bottom, which I really hate. I'm going to do align, top. I'm going to bring all this up because it's silly to have all that white space at the top. So then align, bottom. There we go. Then we can tighten that up. Maybe not that far. Maybe a little white space. Okay, so that's at 7 inches. That's at 4.5. We did all that. We can save our file. We're going to save that report and close that out. Okay, so we have really one thing left for this, and it is to create some mailing labels for all customers. So we begin this the same way. We're going to come up here to create. It's a report, but there's a special button there. It's sorry. We need to be sitting on customers, right? So you want to pick the object that you're building the labels for. So we're on customers, labels. Avery is the manufacturer. C1260 is the product. Next, Times New Roman 11, normal. Those are all standard. We're going to do next. And then we want to pick, so here we've got all that done. So now we want customer first and last name separated by a space. So first name, space bar, last name, next line, address, and then city, state, zip on the last line with a comma and space between city and state and a space between state and zip. So city, enter, city, comma, space, state, space, zip code, next, sort by customer last name, next, and name the report RPT labels _ a student. And there's our labels. So we can close out of that, and this assignment is completed, and you may submit it for grade. Thank you. Oh, you know what? Before we do that, let's run this. Let's see if this works. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to pick a day. So what was the dates? 1, 1, 1. Why is my number 1, 1? I don't remember. 3, 1. 3, 1, 2018. 3/31, 2018. So the month of March. So I can run my works, yay. Still in there. I can do that. It has the beginning and end date up here at the title, and we only get the dates. We only get the author name once. We get a total for the day. Nice. So it's all working. So go ahead and submit it. Thank you.